Welcome to Different Parks and Rec at Home. My name is Stephen Gary with Social Enrichment, Different Parks and Recreation. Today, we're going to be learning about metamorphosis, specifically with butterflies. But first, what is metamorphosis? So metamorphosis is a change or transformation when something goes from an immature form to a more adult form. Typically, the changes are drastic and very noticeable. So some things that come to mind, like what things or animals specifically go under this metamorphosis. So think to yourself, well, frogs. Frogs start off as little eggs, then they go into tadpoles, which have a tail and swim around in water, and then they transform into what we see, our big toads and frogs with 2 legs. They have no tail, and so they go under a metamorphosis where they change. So they, as a tadpole, they're swimming through the water, they begin to grow legs and lose their tail and kind of come on land. Other things are butterflies, like we will be going over today. We'll be going over butterflies that go under metamorphosis, dragonflies, beetles, other insects, and other amphibians for that matter as well. But today, we're going to be talking about what butterflies or caterpillars do, because we see those so often. And then of course we have our butterfly pavilion where we can see all the different types of butterflies and other caterpillars and other insects as well there. So, metamorphosis, what happens? So typically it starts off with an egg we have here for our caterpillar. From the egg for a caterpillar, or I guess a butterfly, this egg is laid on a plant. The really cool thing about nature is nature just kind of knows what it needs to do, what it needs to take care of. And so butterflies, the adult butterfly, they kind of know in their brain, in their mind, what kind of leaves they like to eat and what their as they're a caterpillar they like to eat. And so when they find a leaf, they'll put their eggs onto a leaf. Now it's really important as well is that that leaf is safe from other predators that may try to eat it, other bugs. It is safe from the elements. So say if it's on the tip of this leaf here, it's going to get blown away or not going to survive, or that it's going to hatch and then fall off and not make it. And so it's really specific on where it lays its eggs at. So it'll lay its egg on a leaf, okay, more than one egg usually, and then the caterpillar will hatch from that egg, and from that instant it is born, it's hatched, it begins eating. It's already growing, already hungry, and it begins to eat. So sometimes they may eat the shell of their egg, and they'll start eating the leaf. They'll start eating the leaf that they're on. And it's also really important on the location where this egg is placed, because caterpillars, they're not very fast. If you've seen them out in the open on a tree, or maybe one falls on you or you're exploring, they don't move very fast. They can't jump, they can't climb. I mean, they can kind of climb. They crawl, and so it's important that they're on a leaf or part of the plant so that they can access other leaves, because they will most likely spend their larva stage of their life. The caterpillar is the larva, so we have the egg, the larva, this stage of their life on that one bush or plant. Okay, and so it's going to just be eating and eating and eating and eating and growing. Now you may think, how does a caterpillar grow? Does it grow like we do? We just kind of grow big? Kind of. One thing that's really cool about them is they have a shell, okay? As they're an insect, they have an exoskeleton. And so as they grow, the insides kind of begin to constrict and push, not constrict, but push on that exoskeleton. And eventually they have to do what's called molting. And caterpillars, kind of like a snake, will shed their skin. Okay, they will shed that exoskeleton. So it's not a snake in that it's not skin, but that exoskeleton will become a little bit more rigid and hard and dry, and they will break open it and then kind of crawl out of their skin and emerge larger. So you can look up caterpillars molting, and you'll probably find lots of different videos to kind of see. It's kind of cool, kind of gross at the same time. Kind of looks like a weird booger crawling out of a shell. It's kind of strange. But sometimes in that molting process, caterpillars will emerge a little bit differently because, of course, their bodies are ever growing as they are eating and consuming all these leaves. Okay, so in this larva stage, once they have reached their maximum size, something in their brain tells them like, oh, it's ready. I'm ready to grow, ready to change. And it will find a spot on the plant or a branch or somewhere secure and starting to begin to develop its cocoon or its chrysalis. This is the pupa stage. So we have our egg, we have our larva, we have our pupa stage. And so this is they will go on and root and plant themselves and anchor themselves onto this. I put a little branch because that's all I know. They'll get a branch and anchor themselves on there, and then they'll begin to form, typically with like their mucus, they will form a shell around their body. And it becomes this chrysalis. And inside of that shell, everything begins to change. So in this stage, they're just eating and growing. That's all they're doing, just growing. Here in this chrysalis is where big changes begin to happen. And they are, because you can see, caterpillars don't have wings. They don't have a little body like a butterfly does. They just are a little worm-like thing. And so in here they almost liquefy into a goo, and in that goo they begin to form and change the structure and change the shape and develop wings. And the really cool thing is that sometimes the chrysalis, you can kind of see the outlines and the colors of the wings beginning to form. You can kind of see the life that's inside swirling and ever changing. And then also, depending on the butterfly and the caterpillar, is the pupa, this chrysalis, will look differently. Every type of butterfly has its own unique pupa, which is really cool. Kind of like a fingerprint to the butterfly species. And so, after time has been spent in this stage, it will begin to emerge as a butterfly. And so the really cool thing is when butterflies come out, they don't come out full size and full grown. You never have seen a butterfly crawl out of this pupa, just wings ready to go flying away. It comes out and its wings are kind of flat and deflated. And the really cool part about it is that they begin to plump their blood into their wings. And that kind of fills them up and allows them to fly. And from the minute they're born, they take a little hot second to learn, but they learn right then and there. And from that moment, now they're off in the adult world, and then contributing to the cycle of life, which is actually really, really important. We'll get into that here in a second. And then they'll complete the cycle. So they'll go off, they'll find their partners, and they'll lay eggs, and the eggs will turn into caterpillars, and the caterpillars will go into the pupa, and the pupa will go into the butterfly. And so that is a metamorphosis. That is a cycle of the life for our butterfly. Now, this cycle, of course, will vary from animal to animal, or insect to insect, but you typically follows this kind of pattern. You have your egg stage, you have your immature, your young stage, and then you have your chrysalis or pupa stage, and you have your adult butterfly. So, for our butterfly, I mentioned why it's important. Now, butterflies, as we've seen them out in nature, kind of flying around, they are crucial to our environment because they are pollinators. So they will go around from flowers, different flowers, and they will, of course, take the nectar from that flower and gather the pollen. The pollen gets on them, and they will go to other flowers and then pollinate. Without our butterflies, we would not have as many trees, we wouldn't have as many flowers, we wouldn't have as many plants like our apple trees and all kinds of things we just wouldn't have. Similar to our bees, we need our bees to do the same job as well. So it's really, 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 really important that we keep our environment clean and safe so that we can keep our butterflies alive and keep our bees alive. Also, our butterflies, they are a form of pest control. They will eat little pesky bugs that are on those plants and trees and keep that down. However, they also serve as a food source for other animals, that whole cycle of life. Okay, so other animals will eat butterflies for food, and if they didn't have their food, then those other animals, larger animals, of course, would perish. The really cool thing, though, is how nature works, is some butterflies have grown to adapt to their environment, and they may mimic other types of butterflies or other animals so that they can stay safe from those predators. So one cool fact is the monarch butterfly, I believe, it has a very terrible taste, supposedly. I wouldn't know. Very terrible taste, and birds don't like them. However, there is a butterfly that is similar to the monarch butterfly called the viceroy butterfly, and it imitates the monarch. And so birds will see the butterfly flying, and it's maybe a viceroy butterfly, and it sees it. It's like, oh, it's a monarch, excuse me. I'm not going to eat that. And so that viceroy butterfly now gets to live another day. So, little fun fact of knowledge there. So, protect our butterflies. Of course, if you see one out in nature, admire it. Look at it. It's another reason why they're important, because they look awesome. Butterflies, there's so many different types of butterflies out in the wild, hundreds of types. And they're really, really pretty to look at, the different colors, and if you get a chance to look at them up close, they kind of glimmer and shine. Their wings kind of have this little scale to them. There's a lot of beauty in with a butterfly. And so today, for our craft, paired with this little bit of information, is we're going to be making different stages of this metamorphosis, specifically our caterpillar and our butterfly. All right, so diving into our crafts that kind of pair with a little bit of science information is we're going to be making the different stages of our butterfly. We're only going to be doing the larval stage, or caterpillar, and our butterfly. You could try to do a pupa stage, but we'll do 6 of these two. So for our butterfly, you can kind of see it's a little flappy, fun butterfly here. I didn't color it only because I want to kind of show you different ways that you can color it, and then as we make one, I'll show you how you can color it here. But it's a pretty cool, fun craft there. And then for our caterpillar, a very simple straw method you may have seen, but a little baby caterpillar here that's kind of, you can pretend it's inching along, kind of trying to find some food. Make a fun little story with it. And I'll show you the ways to do it and not to do it. I made 2 examples. One I messed up, the other one I did right, just to kind of show you something to be mindful of as we're making it. So for these activities, for these crafts, is all you will need, of course, are regular straws. You'll need jumbo straws, or you can buy them in lovely little multicolored pack here. It says jumbo straw, that's how you know. Some glue, tape, scissors, and then of course anything you want to decorate. I have some watercolors, I have markers, and I have crayons. I hold up crayons, and colored pencils. And then of course for your actual butterfly you will need different paper, depending on which kind of butterfly you want to make or color or how sturdy you want it to be. I used cardstock for this. Here, I think cardstock works the best because it's nice and sturdy, but you could probably use a card, like an office card. You can use kind of a more heavyweight construction paper. I have this, it's not quite printer paper, but it's very vibrant and it's kind of sturdy. So you can use whatever you have at your disposal. Don't feel the need to go out and buy it. Just kind of experiment with it. So let's jump into it. We're going to start actually with our caterpillar. Pretending it is just hatched out of its egg. In order to do this, I'm going to take your straw. Oh, you want to make sure your straws are these nice little bendy ones. You don't want the straight straws because the bendy ones just are really nice and they add a little bit of texture to our caterpillar. So first thing is you're going to take your straw and you're going to put the mouth end kind of away from where you're cutting. And you're going to carefully, smaller scissors definitely work better, more pointed scissors, but these are what I had at my disposal, so they'll work, just to show you that you can still do it even with different kinds of scissors. You're going to carefully kind of pinch the straw kind of flat a little bit, because you're going to want to try and cut as flat and as straight as you can. And it's a weird cut you have to make, but you're going to kind of come in here at a little swoop, and you're going to cut off the topmost part of your straw. Carefully making sure you don't cut it off. And then once you get kind of close to the bendy part of your straw, you're going to kind of curve your cut down and off. And so you'll have this kind of body here. And then for your legs of your caterpillar, actually for your head of your caterpillar, you're going to make another cut. You can kind of see at the top. And this one's just going to be a simple straight cut down, not all the way, but down. And then I'm going to do the legs of our caterpillar, kind of pinch it so that it's easier. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, is you want to make multiple little slits, but not go all the way up. Keep it at about halfway, and you're going to just cut slits in there. And then make sure they're not too far apart, because these slits are going to end up being kind of like the body and legs for your caterpillar. Carefully cut here. And then, of course, the more cuts that you do, the more legs and body your caterpillar will have. So I'm going to kind of experiment a little bit here and see if I can make it a little bit longer than my example, because this is a big caterpillar. All right, so perfect. So we have our cuts here. Now, what I like to do is, you can go ahead and cut these somewhat now, but it's easier to put your straw back through the body of it when these are together. So now you're going to take your end of the straw that you had cut previously, kind of smush it down, and then feed it back through. And then pull. So that makes kind of like this little nose bit. There we go. And so now we have that back through. You're looking for your slits now. And what you want to do is begin to cut every other one. You don't want to cut them all, because if you cut them all, oops, sorry, you'll end up with this. It will kind of work, but not quite. It won't crawl as cool, and the legs won't flare out. So you don't want to cut them all like this. You want to cut, excuse me, every other one. And you can kind of see how the body moves and how the legs and arms kind of open up. So we're going to go back here into our example. We're going to carefully, gotta find it. Gonna cut the first one. We're gonna skip the second one. And of course, if you had smaller scissors, then it'd be nice, because they would line up perfectly on these little lines here. You can get really, really cool looking caterpillar arms. And we're gonna cut this one here after skipping the second one. And then we're going to cut this one, skip that one, going to cut that one, skip that one, and then cut that one. So we've got our alternating cuts. Can kind of flare them out a little bit. And now we can operate our little caterpillar. And so you can push on it to make it kind of move up, and pull on it to kind of crawl down, like so. So the bottom legs we kind of experimented on. They don't move too much, but all the real action is in here, in that little movie bendy part. And so that's why it's important that you want to have a bendy straw, like so. Because if you have just a regular straw, you can kind of see didn't quite move too much down here, but that's okay. Just kind of experiment, kind of try it out. Maybe if there's like jumbo bendy straws, you can make a jumbo caterpillar, which could be pretty cool. So from here is now what you can do is you can decorate your caterpillar. So we can take some marker, and I want my caterpillar to be purple. And so you can maybe put on some purple eyes here. Doesn't quite want to stick too well, but it's okay. If you had like Sharpie markers, that would work well. And then we can kind of add some cool little lines in here. Kind of give it a little bit of pizzazz. And we'll do all of our legs. And of course, you don't have to use marker. You can do other things to decorate it, and you don't have to decorate it at all. You can use it just kind of as a prop. Maybe go find some leaves out in nature and kind of show or pretend that it's the baby caterpillar that's kind of moving along and trying to get the food. But just like that, you can crawl along, pretend that you have a little caterpillar. So there's that. So we have those two there. Of course. So one thing that I did notice is that the difference between the two is this one moves a little bit, this one moves a lot. I think it has to do with the cuts that I made. So with crafting and making things. It's about experimenting and exploring, trying different things, trying new things to see the results and see if you like it. What I learned is I think these cuts here down into the body make it a little bit harder for it to move up because it doesn't have much to push against on this straw. And so that's why it doesn't move as much. So if you're doing this at home, just make cuts in that bendy section. Maybe use smaller scissors. You'll get a nice movable caterpillar like so. So always learn, always learn. All right, cool. So we have our caterpillar. We're going to set him aside, or her, and we're going to get into our butterfly here. So if you're doing this with a full sheet of paper, either or, you'll want to, you kind of see what I have here already. You'll want to fold it in half, as I call hamburger style. Get a nice crease in there. And then, of course, you can either tear it or cut it, whichever is easiest. I like to do a double crease so it's a nice strong line. Open back up. And then we'll cut. Whoop. And then boom. So, you can make two butterflies. That's my example one. You can kind of see, worked out well. Perfect. So now, for the body of our butterfly, you can kind of see here already, and maybe guess, is you're going to fold it again, hamburger style, in half. Get a nice crease in there. And then, so we have half of it here. I'll line it up for you. What you'll need is you'll need a frame for the body of your butterfly. And so I made another fold about 1 inch or so high. It's fighting me here. Doesn't have to be. It can be smaller. But keep in mind, if it is smaller, it's harder for your straw to tape on there. But, of course, you'll have larger wings. So I'm making mine just a little bit smaller so we can get larger wings on this one. Do a nice strong crease there. And then we have the bottom of our butterfly. Now comes the fun part where we can be a little creative. And so you'll draw your body of your butterfly. So here's our fold here. And you're going to, you can make whatever kind of butterfly or shape that you want, and you'll just do half of it. And so we'll do, let's see, our antenna like this. We'll make big antenna, because why not? Those are a little bit chunky. Those are big. Okay, we'll go here. We'll do our head like that. Not the greatest artist, but hey, we'll make it work. Usually I'm like pen and paper or pencil and paper and sketching and erasing, but we'll just kind of go with it. A little bit of artistic creativity here. Go here, and then we'll go like, let's do some like crazy downward looping ones, shall we? We'll go like there. Make a little cool point there, and then boom. Nice, so we have the body of our butterfly, we have our wings. And so we'll take that, and now, is you don't want to cut like this. I mean, you can, but I like to keep the body of the butterfly intact. And then we'll cut out our wings, making sure we're keeping our paper together. I find it easier to kind of cut a rough shape around different parts of the wings if you can't get to a spot. So like in here, I don't want to like contort my scissors, so I'm just going to go around it for now. It will create a little bit more trash, but it's okay. If you're practicing some of those fine motor skills and cuts, then it'd be perfect to try. So then now all I can do, I don't have to mess with the paper, is go in, make a cut like that, and then make another cut like that, cut again, and see, nice and easy. Pops right out. Same thing for our lovely antenna. And since there's that curve, I don't want to go crazy, so we go like that. Go here. And then we'll just cut that off. And whoop, just like that. And so now, swipe that aside, we have our butterfly. And so we'll fold it down. Kind of looks like mine has horns, but that's okay. And we have a beautiful butterfly. Now for our decoration piece of it, a really cool thing I will show you real quick. I won't do the whole thing, but I'll show you something you can do with crayon and watercolor. So you can use either a white crayon, if you want to have kind of a white line on your butterfly, or let's see if I can find a black crayon in here. If we were going to do a monarch butterfly, aha! So maybe already thinking of what I'm doing, but so with crayon, since it's wax, any water or things that like that watercolor that you add to it won't stick in that area. So if I want to color, I'll color in kind of these wings here, do a little like thing there, kind of just doing my own thing with it. Color with the outline of it. Maybe do like a circle here, because why not? And then we'll take this and go in like that. We'll do something like that. And then maybe we'll do another one that kind of goes to the body. Yeah, why not? Maybe another circle here. But anyways, so we'll add that there, and then maybe like the body we draw like this here. We'll color that. And then say for our white, say we don't want color, but we also don't want the black lines, we can do things like, let's do kind of like this kind of heart shape. It's hard to see now, but once we add the color, it'll be a little easier. Maybe we'll add kind of some lines here into our heart. And then we'll do kind of a line here. And some more there. So we have our crayon on there. And you'll get to hopefully see how it works. So we'll get our watercolor. Let's do a blue butterfly, because I like blue. It's actually one of my favorite colors. Actually, my favorite color. Kind of test it on here. Yeah, we got our blue. It's a little dried out, but we'll make it work. And so now, when we watercolor it, you can kind of see that it's not wanting to stick to where I painted, where I drew that crayon. So that white crayon where that wax is, the watercolor isn't going to stick. And so now we can just kind of brush and watercolor in our butterfly. You can color the whole thing if you'd like. And so I would challenge you is to get a little creative. It's hard to see, of course, with the white crayon, but get a little creative. Maybe draw some different designs in there and bring it to life. And you can add different colors. So maybe we'll add a little bit of purple here. If it is purple, hopefully, yes, it's purple. Okay, so we'll do a little purple on the edge here, because purple and blue goes together pretty well, I think. Kind of like a purple and blue butterfly. Yeah, that works. So there's that. Different example there. So that's one way you can color. You can also use marker and things like that. So let's hop into, let's actually kind of see what this will do. Maybe it'll make a cool design. Let's hop into how we make it fly. So we'll take our straw. We don't need this stretchy part. We can cut that right off. And you'll take your straw and you'll cut it down the middle. You want to cut about how high your fold is. And you will go to the middle here, squish it down, and then you'll tape it. Take that. Take that. Boom. It doesn't have to be perfect, but cool. Then we take our larger straw, and you want to kind of measure it a little bit. And so you want to get it to about near to close to the top of your wing. Excuse me, we're going to cut it like so. Whoop, that went flying. And then you're going to make another long cut, but as you can kind of see, it needs to be able to come all the way up to here. So, kind of use my finger to measure it. Makes a cool sound. And if it goes a little bit farther, that's okay. You cut that. Get your tape ready. Slide your straw over it. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you're taping, you want to try and tape just the super top part of it. Because if you tape like this, it's not going to want to flap right. So you just want the very top of the straw. And so you'll squish it down, get it flat. Too much tape there. Squish it down, get it flat, and there. And now, when you pull down, it's still a little wet here. It should fly. And then, you should be good. You have to kind of bend your straws a little bit, and it'll make it fly a little easier. And actually, one step that I skipped over real quick, as our wings are trying to dry, is you want to make sure you glue the middle of your butterfly. That is one thing that I messed up on, but that's okay. What we can do is a real easy fix. Like so. Slide that down real quick. Kind of made a cool design there. We'll do some glue here in the middle. You can also use tape for this part too, which is what I did for my first time, is I used tape, but this will work. Glue that down. Get some fresh tape on these too. Back up. And we'll tape this down right here. And now, gotta kind of fight a little bit. So the only tricky part is with these jumbo straws is they don't want to always pull and fold the right way. But once you have it, it should fly. And if it is trying to bend like this a little bit, then what you can do is move your tape a little bit down. To find that good sweet spot if you have really big wings on your butterfly. And it should, see, fly much better. Just gotta find that sweet spot. And there you have your butterfly. All right, so we've made our butterfly. Made our nice little pretty butterfly there with some different painting. I'd used the watercolor on this one, and you can kind of see it made a nice little kind of pattern there, kind of a stamp, but you could do both wings painted, and then do the body, and you have a nice pretty watercolor picture at the same time. Things to remember is making sure that you glue the middle or tape the middle. Find that good sweet spot for where they fold. On my example butterfly, I taped up pretty high and it flapped okay. This one I taped it high and it wasn't wanting to fly too well, so I moved it down and it flies just perfectly. All right, so hopefully you learned a little bit of information about metamorphosis and butterflies, and thanks for watching the video.